What's up, guys? How's it going? Sweet. Sorry we're a little late. There's a Knicks game, tree lighting, all kinds of crap going on out there. So we're a little late, but appreciate you guys coming out. We're very thrilled to be here in New York City. And I know you. Yeah. Anyone else I've met before? Oh, yeah. Hey, guys. Yes. Yes, you guys were there, huh? Did you get to hug Dylan O'Brien? No? I asked you the same thing. I had to quit using the same jokes. You shook his hand. That's good enough. He has a very nice hand. That's good. That's good. No, it's fun to be here. I was just, a few months ago, I was here as a consumer because I love bookstores. And I bought a bunch of old used books. And what was it again? Peter over there shipped them to me because he's cool. No, so it's kind of cool to come back to a store that you've actually bought books from and shopped around. So now I take it a lot of you guys are Maze Runner fans. Who's read Maze Runner? You guys saw the movies? Cool. Yep, I know you did. Yeah, it's been really fun, this whole movie thing, the last couple of years. But now I'm on tour for a new book in a new series, The Game of Lives. How many of you have read the first book in this new series, The Eye of Minds? You've read it? Sweet, 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 sweet. Wait, I know you? Oh, yeah, okay.
You're out here, sweet. We're your biggest fan.
Sweet, yeah, I love it when people follow me across country. No, I knew I'd seen you before, though.
Yeah. We did a book club party here on your book, too.
Oh.
You know party?
Yes. Yes, okay. Cool. Well, funny that we hooked up in New York. Awesome. So, yeah, The Game of Lives. I'm very, very proud of this new series. And people are still finding out about it because it came out right when the Maze Runner movies started, all that stuff started kind of going crazy. So people are still discovering this new story. But just to give you a quick background on it, it all started back in the 90s, which was a long time ago. You weren't born yet. Were any of you guys born? How old are you?
11.
You're 11? Okay, how old are you?
11.
You guys are like the 11 club. So you weren't even born yet. Not even close. How old are you?
18.
Okay, so
97.
you were born. My oldest is, he'll be 16 in 3 weeks. And he was born 9 days before the millennium ended. So he can brag to his brothers and sister that he was born in the 90s. But anyway, it's really weird that people read my books who were not even born in the 90s. That just kind of blows my mind. But anyway, but I bet you've heard of this movie, even though you weren't born yet. The Matrix? Yeah, who's seen The Matrix? Okay, nice, nice. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's just, everything about it is just cool. And a lot of the imagery from that movie stuck in my head, and this concept of virtual reality that is so lifelike and so realistic that you can't tell the difference between it and the real world. That just amazes me, and I think it's not only possible, I think it's inevitable that that's going to happen. And think how cool that'd be. But it can also really screw up your mind if you can't tell the difference anymore between the real world and the virtual world. But anyway, when I saw The Matrix, I had this idea in my head that I thought I'd figured out this twist that was going to happen in the movie, and it never happened. So I wasn't as smart as I thought I was. But it stuck in my head, and it never left. And then a few years ago, another movie came out called Inception. And you guys, you were born when Inception came out. Have you seen it?
I'm not old enough yet.
Yeah, maybe. It might scar you a little bit. No, Inception, it's also one of my favorite movies. And it's a lot about dreams. Because you think about, dreams are freaky things. You ever had a weird dream? We've all had weird dreams, right? You must have had some really weird ones. Now, and have you ever had a dream that seemed real? Yeah? Okay. So I love posing this question to people. If you've been in a dream that felt totally real, then how do you know you're not dreaming right now?
I have no problems in my life now.
Like, don't screw me up anymore, please. I already have 5 therapists. Seriously though, you cannot prove to me that you're not dreaming. Right? And I think the same, that concept freaks me out a little bit. And I think it applies to virtual reality as well. Because in The Matrix, which really inspired this series, The Matrix is virtual reality, but it's extremely lifelike. And so Neo, the main character, he was raised basically in this virtual world, so he didn't know that it was fake. And that's how realistic it was. And so all that together, the dream world, the virtual world, all that kind of stuff, it just really fascinates me. And all that fed into inspiring this new series. And of all the books I've ever written, I feel like this series is the one that I really tried to think ahead and spend time crafting it and outlining it and planning it more than any of my other books. In fact, I had outlined all 3 of these books before I even wrote the first chapter of the first book. So I'm really proud of it. It's got lots of twists and turns, kind of messes with your mind a little bit, but I'm very thrilled with it. So hope you guys will give it a chance. So that's my new book, The Game of Lives. It's actually the 3rd book in a trilogy. So if you're not familiar with it, the first one is called The Eye of Minds. And now, usually people come to these events with questions, and that's usually where we have the most fun, so I always try to save some time for that. Did any of you, and it's always scary to be the first one, but did any of you come with a question for me? Anyone going to be brave enough to raise their hand? Yes.
I did, but I am here representing 2 14-year-olds that couldn't make it.
Okay, awesome. I love 14-year-olds are cool.
And
They also were not born in the 90s.
they were not born in the
Right.
90s, 2001. They asked if I would record you answering the question.
Oh, okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's a small charge. My publicist will talk to you afterwards.
Okay. Well, the problem is me figuring out how to do all of this.
Those fancy fandangled phones. Oh yeah, just give it to a teenager. It'll be fixed like that.
I think you're okay, right? Okay, great. You'll probably.
Do I need makeup? Do I look all right?
You look good. You look good.
I look good?
Yeah.
Sweet. All right.
Okay. All right. This question is from Sarah.
Sarah. Hello, Sarah.
And her friend Claire.
Hello, Claire.
And
I've never done this before, actually.
And their question is, are there any characters from past stories you've written that affected the ones you wrote for the Mortality Doctrine series?
Any characters or people that I met
Are there any characters
from past books?
They're big fans of the newsletter.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe getting the others.
I like the way they think. That's a really deep question. You know, it's so hard for me to differentiate all the things that come out of my brain. You know, because another question that's really frequent is, are any of your characters based on real people? Well, no one is really, you know, like one-on-one ratio based on anybody that I've ever known. But see, my brain, it just constantly soaks in my life. So every person I've ever met, every experience I've ever had, and it just creates this idea factory in my head. And when I create a character, I usually start by one trait. So I'll be like, this person is a smart aleck. And then I just trust my instincts to fill in the blanks of what kind of person this is, you know, how they talk, how they react to things, you know, things that may have happened to them in the past that really affected them and all this stuff. So I am getting to your questions, Sarah and Claire. I think that just like people I meet in my real life, characters that I've written in my books become real to me. And so I think very indirectly they probably affect or influence new characters that I create. But there's just absolutely no way I could ever measure that or know for sure. So yeah, I think there's probably little pieces of Thomas or Newt in Michael or Bryson or Sarah. But it's kind of a cool question because you just made me think through all that, and it's kind of interesting. So thank you, Sarah and Claire. And there's no excuse for you not to be here, so I'm very disappointed in you. No, okay. So you said they had 2 questions or just the one?
No, I only got the one.
Okay, well that's good. That was a very cool thing to do. I've never done that before.
Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. How nice of you to come represent them. Did anyone else have a question? Yes.
So I don't write, but
Oh, see, now you know how I feel. You got to talk into a microphone.
I don't write, but my friends, so we play like D&D and stuff like that, and video games, and like the biggest problem is a name.
A name, yeah.
How does that go for you?
Now, this is totally unrelated, but were you guys, was it SCBWI where was it that we...
We saw you at BookCon, we saw you at 92nd Street Y a million years ago.
Okay, it was BookCon that I saw you at last.
Yeah. Signing, what was his name? Assumption signing?
Oh, Nick Offerman, that's where I saw you. That's what I'm thinking of. Yes. Anyway.
We tweeted at you like creepers, like we see you.
That's awesome. I love to be crept on, or whatever. Anyway, your question was a very good one, and I'm trying to remember what it was. No, I do remember it. Names. Interesting that you asked that, because people think I spend like months figuring out the names of my characters. And honestly, half the time it's what pops in my head. And I kind of trust my instincts. Okay, I guess this guy's name is Michael. But now the Maze Runner is different, because, you know, if you've read the Maze Runner, some of you, you know that their names actually have a background to it. And that's a very important theme in the Maze Runner series. I feel like it was very symbolic of what had been stolen from them. Because your name it's like sacred. Your name is who you are. And they stole that from these kids. And the new prequel that I wrote, you guys know about the new prequel? Comes out in about a year. Yeah, you're counting down the days, right? No? Okay. I love that as a perfect answer. I kind of forgot. You should make one of those construction paper things with the links and tear off one each day. Okay, I want you to send me a pic on Twitter. Good. I'll retweet it. Are you guys on Twitter? Who's on Twitter? Who follows me on Twitter? All right. What's your problem? I'm kidding. My publicist, she always takes notes in the back of like things I should never say again. Don't ever say, "What's your problem?" to a customer. No, I'm kidding. So, yeah, the Maze Runner names. And then, you know, some of my characters are names of people in my life. In fact, my siblings and cousins, they're always bugging the crap out of me. Like, why haven't you used my name yet? And so some of the names, like Michael, who's the main character in the new series, my oldest brother's name is Michael. My agent's name is also Michael. And both of them think I named it after them. And that's totally cool with me, because they'll never meet in real life, so it works out. No, but it's just, names it's funny. Sometimes I'll have a really minor character that really means nothing, and I'll sit there and waste an hour trying to think of a name for it. I'm like, my mind just goes completely blank. But then someone like the main character, Michael, I was just kind of brainstorming, coming up with an idea, and Michael popped in my head, and I'm like, that's his name. Didn't waste even 30 seconds on it. So, but like I said, names are important. It is, you know, besides maybe how your face looks or how people, you know, well, what am I trying to say? Besides what you look like, what could be more identifiable than your name? So, that was a deep question. Now, Dungeons and Dragons. You mean like when you're creating the storyline?
No, when you create a character.
When you create a character, you can't come up with names?
I always have a problem. Like, I started a video game and I spent an hour on eyelash color, right? So.
Oh, wow, yeah, yeah. That's the 7th therapist we need to get for you. Jesus. All right, who else had a question? Come on, you guys came and you didn't even have a question?
No, I actually didn't.
You already know everything? No, you didn't know, you didn't expect what? So you were, it was a surprise that I was here? Cool. Oh, you didn't,
I knew about the books. I didn't know.
that we were going to sit here and chat? It's a pleasant surprise, hopefully. Yeah, good. And this is the perfect room. I just moved into a new house and I have this cool library. And so I'm slowly stocking its shelves. And I really love old books. In fact, the books I bought from Peter, oh, Peter left. He must have been bored. Were these old history books from Cambridge. Are we that close to the road? It's New York City. You're always close to the road, right? Anyway, so anyone else have a question? Yes.
In your stories, how do you feel about people like shipping, like your characters, like with OTP?
Yes, shipping. Let me explain to all you old people what that means. Shipping is when you think two characters should hook up, love each other, hold hands, whatever, kiss. Yeah, it is ridiculous how many tweets and Facebook posts, comments, whatever, I get about shipping. So every day I get at least 10, 20, 30 people. Do you ship Newtmas? Or do you ship Tomisa? No. Or do you ship Tominho? Or, well, however they say it. So they combine the two names into one name. It's very immature, guys. I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. I think it's awesome. Are you kidding me? The fact that people care about my book so much that they are debating who should love each other or who should hook up and get married or who should definitely not hook up. It's just, you can imagine what that's like, right? You created characters and people care about them and argue about who should be with who. It's awesome. I love it. So who do you ship? You're a Newtmas. A lot of Newtmas people out there. I think that's awesome. That's awesome. There's a Merry Newtmas Day. Man, if I say anything about Newtmas, I get retweeted like 1,000 times. It's ridiculous. No, that's cool though. I like that. Now, someone else had a hand over here. Yes.
What made you decide to write young adult specifically? Like, even if you kept the same plot lines and everything, what made you focus on young adult rather than...
Okay. You know, people say this a lot. I think that what your book gets classified as depends a lot on the age of the main character. And it just felt very natural for me to write about younger people because when I was a teenager, and you know you're officially old when you say things like when I was a teenager, okay? But when I was a teenager, reading was pure magic. I mean, it still is. I love reading. But I don't think anything could ever match how magical it was to me as a teenager. I just devoured books, and I spent all my time at the library. I mean, I was the epitome of a book nerd, okay? Who's a book nerd? Be proud. Yeah, sweet. I was a book nerd beyond book nerds. And even though I still love reading so much, I don't think it could ever match the pure magic of that time. And so one way that I can replicate that is to write for that age. And I feel like I never really alter the way I write. I don't write down to teenagers. I don't think, oh, teens are stupid. They would never know what this word means. I mean, if a word pops in my head, I assume that teenagers know what it means because I'm not that smart. That was supposed to be kind of a joke, but give me a courtesy laugh. Thank you. Good job. Good job. So I think that if I had written The Maze Runner for adults, I'm not sure it would have been that different. And I think it's kind of cool that we have so many adults who do love the books. I don't know, this has no basis whatsoever, but I would guess that over half of the people who buy and read Maze Runner are actually adults. So Barbara's like the boss of Random House. She'd probably know. She's like, I'll have my assistant look that up, James. So yeah, so it's something I love, and I see myself maybe writing books for, more like a Stephen King novel or something, but it still might have a teenage protagonist and might still be classified as young adult, but I don't think it would be any different than if it wasn't that way. Is that a good answer?
Yeah.
Okay.
I definitely agree with your point that a lot of it depends on the age of the protagonist now.
Yeah.
I've seen that very much though. I'm almost 30, so I've seen that since when I was reading as a teenager to now. It seems like many books are in the young adult genre now based on the protagonist, not based on.
Yeah, I mean.
When we were teenagers, there was not nearly as much young adult fiction as there is now.
Yeah, I agree.
It was just kind of like pretty like preteen or.
Yeah, there's a big gap.
There's really no.
I always tell people.
Are reading it now.
I always tell people that Stephen King was my young adult section, basically. Yeah, it was like middle grade, and then you just kind of jumped to adult books. But I'm really lucky. I kind of caught this young adult wave. It became so popular with, I think Harry Potter even was considered young adult, and then Twilight, Hunger Games, all this cool stuff, and then tons of stuff that doesn't get quite the media coverage, but is still amazing. So, okay, I've been told one more question. Who's got the best question in the history of the world? No pressure or anything. Too late to turn back now.
Well, I'm just curious. I like to ask authors, what are your favorite scenes to write, and what are the scenes that you kind of just have to grit and bear through that you find?
It's rare that I get questions I've never been asked before, and that's one. Good job. Good job. The scenes I love to write, can I have two? It's a tie. Because they're so different. I love to write suspense, like action scenes, because I'm a very visual, cinematic person. And I visualize these scenes as if they're happening in my mind like a movie. And I love listening to movie soundtracks while I do it. But I also love when I can sit down and write a quiet scene where just 2 or 3 people are talking to each other. In this new book, The Game of Lives, I was so thrilled that my editor actually let me keep it in, because I thought she was going to say, this is way too long, too boring. These people are just sitting there talking for like 10 pages. What are you thinking? So I was thrilled when she actually thought it was a good scene and let me keep it in there. And when you read it, you'll see it. There's a scene where the 3 main characters kind of have nothing to do because they're embarking on something big in the morning, and they're just telling stories about their childhood. And it's just really fun for me to kind of dig into their minds and see what they would say to each other when it's just quiet, they're not under stress. And it's fun to try to make that dialogue feel real and genuine. And some useless trivia for you, that scene, if you ever win, you read it. All 3 stories that they tell are from my actual life. So it's kind of interesting. You can imagine my mom got a big kick out of that. So yeah, anyway, last thing I'll say is I really appreciate you guys. I mean, I know that New York has some author event probably every night of the year, so it means a lot to me that you'd come out and see me, and it means a lot that you would spend your hard-earned money buying my books and reading my books. No problem at all. So thank you very sincerely. I get to do what I love for a living, and I never ever take it for granted. So thank you very much. And I look forward to meeting you individually as I sign your books. So I will pass the time to Kaylin.
Yes.
The boss.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, first of all, to James for being here.